And our number one team, who we're not all super confident in, had a great offseason, but CJ Stroud's been very, very quiet this offseason compared to when he was last season because he understood those distractions. Now, you could be my boy Bo Nix, where he's going to go train with Drew Brees for 5 days and stays with Drew Brees for 5 days and, stays out of the media and trying to make his team better. Or you could be CJ Stroud going to concerts, hanging out with celebrities, hanging out with women that have known to ruin people's careers. And then you had a season that you had last year. Either way it goes, love CJ Stroud, though, from his college days. Hopefully he takes a step up this year. They still finished at 10-7, right? Everybody knows CJ Stroud won Rookie of the Year in 2023. Had what we all consider to be a sophomore slump or a dip in production. They brought in a Joe Mixon, who led the team with 1,000 yards. Nico Collins didn't play the full year, but had a strong season with 1,000 yards as well. And, of course, they lost Tank Dell not only halfway through last year, but are going to lose him again all this year because he tore everything in his leg possible that you could tear. It seemed like Derek Stingley Jr. has been a generational talent. Like I told everybody, him and Kyle Hamilton were the two guys that I told everybody were going to be generational in that draft, and they have been. As long as Derek Stingley was healthy, he's been generational. He is arguably the best corner in the league. A lot of people would consider. If you said that he was the best, I wouldn't disagree with you. And this is where it sucks for guys like me when we see Danielle Hunter go over to the Texans. They rank 4th in the league with 49 sacks and 5th in 20 with 29 takeaways in the regular season. And then you look at like that secondary that they had. Stingley led the team with 5 interceptions, and rookie Cam Bullock also contributed significantly with 5 interceptions. Also have Kamari Lassiter on that team. Also have Jalen Petrie when he's healthy on that team. Like they're absolutely stacked across the board. Now, offensive line, of course, they let Laramie Tunsil run, but they signed. I tried to tell you guys, Dylan, when you guys signed up with the Vikings, Cam Robinson sucks balls, and now he's on the Texans. Trent Brown and Laken Tomlinson are there as well. And then they traded Stephon Diggs to the Patriots, but then they also picked up, like I mentioned earlier, Christian Kirk in a trade from the Jaguars for a 7th round pick. They also signed Nick Chubb to be the backup to Joe Mixon. Dameon Pierce, after his first season, has not looked like he did his first season, but hopefully they can, hopefully they're able to, step up in that aspect. And yeah, so the Texans are a very good team when it comes to on paper. They brought in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, who I made a video about that a lot of Texans fans like, where I said Jalen Noel is not a replacement for Tank Dell. He is going to be the long-term starter out there for them for a long time. I believe in him more than I believe in Jaden Higgins. Ariante Ursary coming over from Minnesota is going to be there in the 2nd round, so hopefully he can fill in for where Laramie Tunsil left off. They're bringing the best receiving back in the draft, and Woody Marks comes over from USC. They bring up a guy that's going to challenge CJ Stroud to be better, and Graham Mertz. Love that move. Luke Leakey from Iowa is going to be their tight end that they brought over in the draft. Now, the outlook for them, of course, storylines. CJ Stroud, can he be as good as he was last year? Can Derek Stingley and that defensive, whole defensive unit? I mean, we can say everything we want to say about their secondary, but can their whole defense be top 3 in the league? Because I believe that they can get there. So what's your outlook on them? We have them at 9-8, being the only team to get over 500 in this division. Very, very cutthroat, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Texans have always been, defense driven. They've always figured out on the defense side of things, but could they figure it out on the offensive side? I mean, they finally have a quarterback that can put the offense on his back and and make that offense solid. You know, you have Nico Collins, and even if Nico Collins goes down this year, you have a slew of guys who could possibly step in and play all right. I think Christian Kirk could be fine as a one for, you know, if Nico gets hurt, because you have so many guys there. I like the addition of Justin Watson. I like when he was with Kansas City. I don't think people talk about him enough. I thought at times he was the best receiver in Kansas City when, you know, they were struggling at receiver there for a little while. I think he's that good. Xavier Hutchinson is an interesting guy. You know, they have a couple of guys that they have a couple of guys that can that can step up in the receiver room. But Mixon, you know, Mixon is wonderful. We saw when he left Cincinnati how much an effect he had on that offense. I mean, coming in, hopefully he'll be fine for the season. Nick Chubb, what can he regain of what he had after that nasty knee injury? Dameon Pierce couldn't really get back to his self since year one. But yeah, it's really just, you know, I think the offensive line is the biggest question mark. It's just, you know, I think it was good that they let Laramie Tunsil go. A lot of people thought that they should have kept him. A lot of people were split on that, I thought. And I thought it was good to let him go because the penalties that he was getting weren't good. They were
I agree.
ridiculous penalties. You know,
Yeah.
I like a penalty from an offensive lineman where someone hits your quarterback too hard or too much. And then I like those penalties when offensive linemen get penalized for those. I'm okay with those all day long, but I'm not okay with all the holdings, all the false starts. I mean, you know, when you're getting set
Chiefs.
back.
As much as people want to talk about the
Yeah.
Chiefs were not penalized enough and get away with everything, they sure did get penalized a lot on that offensive line. I think people actually tend to forget about that. Like the Chiefs handed a lot of people gifts this year, and they just felt, oh, the refs are always in their corner. Okay, that's
Yeah.
a myth, but you know, I digress.
Let him talk. Let him talk. Sometimes it's just the best thing to do is just let him keep going.
Yeah.
Because
we'll talk about the Chiefs next week, but just to throw that little dagger out there for a lot of people.
But yeah, when you have those little penalties in there, it sets a tone for the drive, you know, for a new drive. It screws you if you get a new set of downs. And one thing that this Texans team cannot afford is to be behind the sticks. You know, is to be behind the chains because
Let them know.
this offensive line can't hold up if the defense knows that you're passing the ball. They can't hold up. And, you know, yeah, they have a lot of guys here to compete, but, you know, I like competition for maybe a spot or two, but not almost the entire offensive line, especially the starting offensive line. It's not good. But we'll see. You know, they have the weapons. If they can, you know, get a quick hitting offense, get the ball out quick, a little running action here and there. Mixon just works wonders, man. I don't know how he does it. You know, he's had a bad offensive line really his whole career, and yet he's, you know, the difference that he makes is just absurd. But
One of the most disrespected running backs in the league.
Yes, all the way. I mean, you know, it's all in their offense, their defense. If you know, it seems like they always figure the defense out. They always find a way. But offensive wise, it's just a complete opposite. So we'll see if CJ Stroud can figure it out this year. But yeah, I think, like we said, this division's up for grabs. We really don't know. There's so many factors on offense for these teams and not really quarterback for the Texans. It's just like offense line is so bad for the Texans. You know, could Nico Collins, you know, who's going to step up if Nico Collins gets hurt or, you know, Christian Kirk gets hurt, who's going to step up? You don't know. It's going to be tough. I like the tight end. I like Dalton Schultz. You mentioned Luke Lakey. We'll see, man.
Another Iowa tight end that maybe is the one to step up and make the team better. Who knows? But yeah, it's a tough division this year, man. And people are going to look at the AFC South a lot differently next year because here's my outlook. The Jaguars don't get away with what they're going to get away with this year like they will next year. I believe there's going to be changes that get made. But I think Liam Cohen and that staff are going to make hardcore changes and not going to want to go with the mold. They've been a part of winning cultures and they know what decisions need to be made to win. Titans live or die by Cam Ward, in my honest opinion. Indianapolis Colts, do they have their guy or I think the Indianapolis Colts are just like a few pieces away from being a dominant team. And again, you're running. Is it going to be the Tennessee Titans over the last 15 years with them until they find their quarterback? If Andrew Luck was there, I think everybody knows we feel a lot differently about the Colts.
I tried going without saying it.
I know. I'll say it for you. And then the Texans, can they get out of their own way of just like on their offensive woes? Can these guys stay healthy? Can CJ Stroud play like he did in 2023? Who knows? But that's kind of the outlook for the AFC South.